If you've been keeping up with my activity anywhere besides my YouTube channel, which I can say that it's been dead for a couple months, you'd probably know that I recently started playing this little Roblox game called Kivoto's Battlegrounds. A 6v6 team-based shooter that, let's just say, it's a bit inspired by Overwatch. It's technically just a Blue Archive fan game, but Overwatch. At first, I didn't really like the idea of playing the game. While everyone was playing KBG during its launch 4 months ago, I sat in my own corner playing TF2.
Oh shit.
Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. I mean, it's pretty understandable to not like a hero shooter when most games today with this genre tends to be a miss. Going back to today, or in my case, a month ago, I gave KBG another try. I say another try because I played during beta. It wasn't anything much other than how fairly boring it was. The only difference this time is that I queued up with a bunch of people, and I think because of that I got a more fun and interesting experience. The common trends, I would say, towards hero shooters is that it tends to lean in a more restrictive and competitive play, and KBG, intentional or not, is the opposite of that, at least from what I've felt so far. A lot of the time, playing this game, which be an entire month, led to me feeling like a lot of its gameplay loop doesn't force me into just one way of playing. Amongst other things, I feel like I got a decent amount of things that I want to talk about. Okay, hold on now, a lot of these points tends to fall into me being more of a TF2 player. I didn't really play a lot of hero shooters, nothing else besides TF2. The only exception being Valorant, which I played roughly for a year until I decided to just never play the game again, never touch the game again because I fucking hate the game now. So a lot of my knowledge and game sense just came from TF2 while also it being meshed with other games that I used to play. Alongside the little knowledge that I learned as I went through KBG.
Oh, hold on a second.
What?
Your thoughts based on TF2?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
And what led you to using TF2 specifically as a reference?
I mean, I'll explain that later, but in short, it's just that, and I know this sounds pretty far-fetched, but KBG really reminded me of TF2. There are a lot of points that I'll be making later exploring this idea.
Fine, but why not then that MOBA game that you played? It's not League of Legends, what's its name? Mobile Legends, yeah, Mobile Legends. And why not that?
Why would I subject myself to that kind of torment? Plus, it's a far-off game that doesn't really work in this context. Even Valorant I didn't go for. God, I mean, is using TF2 as a reference that bad?
No, that's not what I meant. It's just, I did not expect you to go for TF2 specifically out of all the other games out there. And, well, it will be a bit odd to go for a game that, sure, it's categorized in the same genre, well, it's a bit different from the others.
Just trust me on this, Boober. It'll make sense the more I get into it. Game balance, a tricky topic and an issue to kind of go around. For a game like KBG, who was freshly launched 4 months ago, should mean that it's a balancing mess. To my own surprise, it's, dare I say it, pretty balanced. Interactions in this game tends to put me in a position where I either laugh it off when I get a funny death, or think about what I could have done better. Less of it was blaming towards how said character is so busted that it was unfair the moment I started queuing for a match. The extent I would think someone goes for is just a character being annoying, but that doesn't mean bad balancing. Exceptions exist, however, and those being, well, these two. Or let's just say they're a bit problematic in a lot of cases. Some of you might be wondering, where the hell is Chiaki? Yeah, I mean, okay, fair enough. But I ruled out Chiaki in this case because she isn't really that of a big issue. She tends to pose as a problem in a more competitive setting, and I'm talking about in a more casual setting. And for whatever reason, Chiaki also got banned way more quicker than the bullshit that is Rabu. From what I've heard, the reason Chiaki is banned is due to her ultimate being a busted flash. If you take something like Counter-Strike's Flashbang, it usually requires proper setup and can be played around. Look away from the flash and the effects are less opaque. Now let's look at the same situation again, but this time we're up against Chiaki's flash. Yeah, it's one would describe it as weaponized jank. Like, I don't really know what this is supposed to be. Like, Chiaki's flash just doesn't reward you for playing around it very much. The moment you press Q, you place this camera that immediately just flashes you and blinds your fucking eyes in what I would assume in a wide cone-shaped radius. But sometimes it just doesn't. Still, the flash can be done easily as pulling out any other ability in the game. You just press one button and it just does it for you. This can practically win almost any team fight.
Nice, Yon.
Holy crap, oh my god! And the flash is just almost instant and barely has any counterplay other than just putting yourself behind the wall, but even then, sometimes it just doesn't let you. It's not fun when you're matched up against something like this. And the only countermeasure that I could think of right now is just to anticipate the flash beforehand, which can be pretty hard because unlike TF2's Uber management technique where you keep track of the enemy medic's Uber for an advantage, it's pretty hard to tell on who has their ultimate. There's, I would say, barely or even no visual nor audio cues to kind of keep track of who has their ultimate, so it gets even harder.
Cool. One apple now.
There's no indicator. There was no indicator. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
In a competitive setting, this matters a lot. But in a casual game where a lot of players tend to think that the word coordination doesn't exist in the English dictionary, it's not as big of a threat people seem to paint it as.
Oh, no wonder. I don't get it. I was gonna kill him. And he got healed.
Hold on. Oh my god, that's so fucking silly, man. This video is sponsored by me. Hey, that's me, holy shit. If you like this video and want to support me somehow, I just opened a Ko-Fi page. I went into this video just, wanting to create another video for the time being, but after editing so much of this, I feel like I just want to do more YouTube. I may not have the brains of people who make those type of videos or something else like videos where the editing is so great that it flashbangs you every 5 seconds or so. I have none of that. All I have is me as in the person, and just my mouth, and I just talk about stuff, whatever I find interesting. And if you do like that type of stuff and still want to support me for whatever reason it may be, do check out the Ko-Fi page that I will link in the description and not the pinned comment. Supporters obviously will get, extra perks from me, I guess, but I haven't really thought of that much. I'll think about it for what I want to add because I just don't want to make it as basic as, oh my god, you get a Discord role and, you get previews and shit. I want to at least make it a bit more different than the others, so I'll have to take some time to kind of think about that. But if you're a broadcast like me, you can still support me in other ways, like for example, pressing that subscribe button or giving me feedback, because I really take feedback very seriously. So yeah, that's it. Back to the video. Let's talk about TF2 friendlies. If you're blinded by that is the competitive urge to shoot people and win games, in the simplest way I could put it, it would be that friendlies are players who just don't want to do the objective. Kind of like a troll, but they're less of griefing the game. They stand around and look at you with their funny faces. It's a common thing in TF2. They just run around doing goofy things like giving out sandwiches to the enemy team or playing rock, paper, scissors to the death, creating conga lines and basically, like I said, just goofing off instead of playing the objective. Which surprised me that KBG has a fair share of random matches where the server just turns friendly for whatever reason. I can't count how many times this happened, but somehow this game has these just really weird friendly moments that just happens out of nowhere. What I like about this is that once it happens, you just either see people joining in the bit, or that particular creature just gets ignored and hangs around the busy war zone, taking vacation pictures. And I get why they want to take pictures, because the players in this game just have the tendency to fall to their deaths. And yes, there are maps that have spots where you can literally fall to your death if you step off the wrong ledge.
When the game's done, I was finally plays around, eating cold chicken bakes.
And I've really seen people just fall into their demise way too many times to count. Hell, for whatever reason, it happens so often that it even happened in a tournament.
It truly is a data boy, dude. It's truly a data boy.
What the fuck? Did you guys see that?
Here's a little pop quiz for you. Where do you think this Aru will shoot their ultimate on? Is it either A, at me, potentially killing me in an instant, or B, where she inexplicably shoots the floor, like what the fuck? Or this other time where this Nonomi just doesn't have to have pain receptors, like they're just ignoring and tanking my headshots over and over and over and over. This interaction, I would say, is as similar as encountering a free-to-play spy. Oh my god, Sean, please! Or spies who just tend to fumble in the most ridiculous ways one could pull off. For an ability-centric game, a lot of people wouldn't really try to approach the type of gun the student use, and how they matter in the interactions they take. It's very understandable, especially when you're more focused towards how you as a player should use your abilities in the hows, whens to the whys. But what I noticed after playing a couple dozen matches, especially with DPS, would be that the type of gun that you use matters a tiny amount, but still enough to get me interested. Let's pick two DPS students like Azusa and Yori. Both have good damage outputs with skills that enhance their damage or for self-sustains. The main difference between the two is how much pressure you can apply and how quick you can pick off a health bar. Azusa, for example, she holds an automatic, which means she deals smaller damage and a high fire rate on a good clip size. This means she deals damage over time. You chip off HP in a reasonable rate. But you can apply good pressure to put the enemies in a more tough spot because the goal here is to take space and not, get frags for those epic montages. She's a good student to play in the midfield with your team, constantly applying pressure to force them back or disrupt them when you get an angle. There's also the fact that you aim by tracking, which leads to more forgiving mistakes. This obviously doesn't come without flaws. One thing would be that Azusa can sometimes have a bit of a hard time finishing off an opponent. If the opponent is smart at playing their fights, they can exploit how slow Azusa is at killing their targets. They either retreat or push you aggressively so that it forces you to retreat. But this game can be pretty fucking weird to the point where even that situation where I would assume happens a lot of the time, it doesn't. Maybe in a more competitive setting, but still, it just doesn't. But please hear me out for a second. On the other hand, Yori holds a semi-auto. And no, it doesn't act like a proper semi-auto, but still means a single fire weapon sight. Considering her insanely high burst damage, she deletes HP like a queen. Alongside her smooth mobility, she can pick off targets from long to mid-range to even close range very easily, making it very good for her to be a semi-pick class. However, unlike Azusa, she can't deal that much pressure on the enemy. You have a smaller clip size, which means more reloads and more time spent doing that instead of shooting. So she's a bit lacking at applying pressure, but excels at high damage picks that can be done either on a flank or far up behind. Close if you're feeling confident enough. Want to be an annoying bitch by constantly shaving off their HP like a mosquito? Play someone like Azusa. Or do you want to appear on a random corner just to delete some poor innocent player's HP? Play someone like Yori. This goes similarly to a lot of the other students, as well as automatic holders tend to excel at pressuring and single fires tends to be really good at picking off key targets. What makes this more interesting is that the fact that even with what I said, they are flexible enough to reverse their roles. Auto holders picking off key targets, it works. Single fires applying enough pressure to push them back, works too. This flexibility and freedom lets the players tailor their playstyle to whatever they want without really switching to a different character. And to my knowledge, for a hero shooter, that doesn't happen very often, really. And as much as I want to say the opposite, I really think that the dev teams consisting of roughly 2 potted plants and a stapler didn't really intend all of what I said. Even if they didn't, I'm still glad that it turned out like this. If there's synergy and flexibility the students offer in terms of playstyles are not this lenient, then I would be playing an entirely different game. It's TF2. A common trend with me and the games that I play is that I try to play it in the most unconventional way possible. The KBG equivalent to that is Whack-A-Mole. Now I don't play competitive 6s in TF2. Well, not yet at least, but whenever I see myself playing, the role I envision myself to be playing as is the roamer soldier. And it is the roamer's job to play at the flank. So my playstyle involves dying a lot, feeding my face off, my dead corpse for their demo or medic or whoever's important enough to get my attention. This roamer playstyle also pushes me to use the Market Garner, a shovel that deals 195 critical swings after blast jumping. And that amount of damage tends to one-shot a lot of the classes in the game, or leaves them at low enough health to just get picked off by a stray bullet. And I use that instead of the escape plan, a utility melee that makes you move faster that scales between how low your HP is. With the MG, this means more committing to your pick by instead of bombing them by sinking rockets like a normal person, I do the funnier alternative, spoon them with a crit shovel. I happen to play like this almost every single time I play Soldier. The reason for this is when during my time playing a lot of Community vs Sax and Hail, Soldier, a subclass of Soldier with a strong emphasis on slamming innocent souls with a shovel, is very strong. Although it's skill dependent and fairly risky to play as, that didn't stop me from running him every chance I got. Wakamo, believe it or not, can be looked at similarly to this. Every time we get onsen, there's this little spot on the pillars where you can stand, and I often just sit there until the support overextends and then I just bomb them like the soldier from Team Fortress 2. Now Wakamo is the most technical DPS as of current, bolting a pretty smooth but tricky set of skills. Shin Suzuki Botsu, in other words, your E. Wakamo throws a dagger that sticks to an enemy for 6 seconds and lets you teleport to them anywhere on the map. Well, for some reason even into their spawn. The initial tag deals 20 damage with the follow-up dealing 30, which adds up to 50 in total. Piercing Beauty, your shift, is a damage dealing dash, and I like to consider this as one of the best in the game. Unlike the other dashes, this one can go perfectly fucking vertical. Wanna dash downwards? Sure, why not? Wanna dash upwards? Go ahead. You can get to places that no other student can play on an off angle. It's stupidly effective to just dash in the most odd directions because a lot of players just don't expect you to appear on top of them, when the only thing in their vicinity is a wall that no one goes to, except Wakamo. And then there's Kaladamas Kitsune, her ultimate. Once popped, you get a movement speed boost, a cooldown reduction on your dash, and an HP back per kill. Now, I think the most important thing about Wakamo is that a lot of your skills you gotta work for. Now that sounds incredibly stupid when Rabu exists, I know. A lot of the other students' gameplay boils down to just using ability 1, then 2, then shoot. A lot of it tends to be pretty simple and straightforward. Some tend to be more than that and just lets you get away with a lot of things for free. There's also skill framework, a thing that I just made up 5 minutes ago. Basically, the impact to your gameplay is based on by the order of your skills that you use. That doesn't seem much, especially when considering that a lot of the students in the game tend to not play differently depending what order of skills you use it. Except Wakamo. Her E skill, the skill that lets you teleport on the enemy you tagged, means that your position changes in an instant, which forces you to adapt to the situation you put yourself in. Then your dash. It lets you choose to either use it for pure mobility or use it for damage, like finishing an enemy off. And then her ultimate. Instead of it being some form of one and done ultimate where you press one button on a guy and they just get smitten by the hands of God itself, Wakamo's ult gives you buffs instead, which means you, the player, have to utilize these buffs to its fullest. It pretty much puts you on a tightrope at all times, forcing you to think about the things as simple as, what skills do I use to enter this fight? Because as Wakamo, this matters a lot. Your playstyle revolves around you being a slippery vixen. You can't really show yourself out in the open that often, kind of like playing an assassin. Yes, you can play her as some kind of mid-range rifleman, but Wakamo excels as a character who gets in, gets 1 or 2 picks, and getting the hell out. And when she has her ultimate, she has a higher chance of escaping. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's enough to just make a notable difference. She plays similarly to Izuna, except Wakamo is just more unorthodox, I guess. Oh, dumbass, I won this interaction. However, like earlier, you can just play her like a fucking mid-range rifleman. Play her in a more simpler fashion. Her rifle deals very solid damage and it's nothing to scoff at. You can ditch the whole unorthodox shtick and play her as simply as you can, which I honestly do too sometimes, but you know that's not where I get my high from. Doing stupid bullshit like being in funny places where you shouldn't be is stupid but hilariously fun. Like this clip in Eridu, for whatever reason I'm just up here peppering this Saudi and Azusa from above and I don't think they even realized it yet. And a minute later, a Serena with low HP comes into my view and I just snag a kill. If you were any of them, like it would be bullshit. Like, why would you even look up there? How did you even think I got there? Hey, it's me, post-production Astrim. It's currently 2 AM, but I got a little funny thing that I need to tell y'all. So funny thing about Wakamo is that your dash pushes people, which means that if you have a Wakamo below you and you latch your dagger onto them, shift to them, and then E, you send them pretty high up to the sky. If you launch another Wakamo, you can put them in a very weird place. The only downside to this tech is the fact that some parts of the map have it blocked, as in like there's skyboxes that blocks your shot. So you can't really like pepper them from above, but there are some spots that lets you still do that, like this spot in Seaside where you can kind of just sit there and shoot people from above and just let them figure out where they're getting shot from. It's kind of funny, but it's just a niche tech though. Look, I can talk about Wakamo all day on how fun she is for whatever reason it may be, but what happens if I don't want to play Wakamo? I know I already talked about Yori earlier, but talking about her again won't hurt. I play Wakamo whenever I just want to spaz out my brain and constantly be in a rush of thought. But if I just want to shoot people in the face, then I'll pick Yori. Because she's very straightforward. Her gameplay loop boils down to just dash and shoot, rinse and repeat. Every dash has a small window for her to deal twice the damage than she normally does. The usual 45 damage headshot on max ramp up deals 90 after a dash. But what I love about playing Yori is that her gameplay is very hit or miss. She has a low clip size of 8 compared to Wakamo, that's very little. So you spend a lot of your time reloading than actually shooting. And even if you shoot more than you reload, however that works, you still tend to miss. A lot. At least for me. But you get punished for missing and heavily rewarded for hitting your shots, which leads to her ultimate. We do not talk about it. Okay, in all seriousness, think of her ult as if it's like an extra damage boost. Her dash gives you a 2x multiplier on your rifle, but your ult gives 1.5. The difference here is that once you pair it with your dash, the damage stacks to 3.5. You can literally delete someone with half HP, but the ult comes with a hidden debuff. Pressure. I know that sounds fucking stupid, but every time I pop my ult, I just miss every shot. At most, I hit like 2 out of 3, rarely hitting all 3. And once you hit them all, it just feels okay, I guess. Because what I think the best feeling that you can pull off with Yori lies within her dash. Every other dash in the game sends you into one direction, and only that one direction you choose to dash towards. Now I think you know where I'm going with this. What if you can change directions mid-dash? For whatever reason, Yori's dashes let you change directions mid-dash. This means you can do some pretty fun movement shenanigans with it. My favorite being fake-outs, where you dash into a certain direction only to snap to a different one, throwing the enemy off. You can use corners or props to make yourself look like you're retreating, but in reality, you're just charging up your next shot. And the best part of all of this is that you don't really need to look at the direction you're dashing towards. It's only tied to your movement keys, like Izuna, meaning it lets you move as you hold your crosshair towards your opponent. Other than her dashes being smooth, it's also hella flashy when you pull off something like this. It's stylish whenever you want it to be, but also still pretty practical. I get a similar feeling with something like Combo Pyro in TF2. When I play Combo Pyro, I tend to do one or two things. First being to play for consistent burst damage, and the other would be clip farming. And I mean tons of clip farming. Point blank reflex, detonator jumps to extinguisher kills, reflect jumps into extinguisher kills. Those scream flashy kills. Hell, I even made a montage not too long ago doing a lot of that. Despite not having as much mobility as Soldier, Pyro feels just as smooth while being mostly grounded. Having the urge to style on my opponents came from playing Combo Pyro, and that followed suit when I started learning how to play Yori. And I think it is more rewarding hitting shots like these compared to mowing someone down with an automatic or pressing one button that gives you free damage and HP. Look, I'm not gonna pass by the fact that this game has a lot of flaws, and I mean a lot, notably balancing, levers, and the game being very jank sometimes. Why is getting skipped on a queue is a thing? I'm already queuing, why are you skipping me? But with all of that to take into account, I still enjoyed the game regardless, even when I'm absolutely bad at the game. Even if a game has flaws and whatever jank it keeps manifesting, it doesn't mean it can't be fun. It's all up to the player if they want to have fun or not, and since I don't take the game that seriously, you tend to get that stupid joyous rush even when you die a horrible death. I would recommend you to try out this game with your friends. It's really fun and oddly casual enough to goof around and do stupid bullshit. Even without updates so far, I still play the game regularly. Oh yeah, don't forget, the game's dead. As I'm editing, the game is dead. 0 players, not a nothing. It's fucking dead. As I was animating a scene earlier, out of coincidence, this dropped. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, okay, it's okay. It's just that I didn't expect it to be chicken.
We should add Hatsune Miku to KBG. Wait.
Yeah, Miku.
We could, I think.
Huh?
Does anyone have CP?
Wait. What the fuck did Bruce? Can you write me having? Wait, let me see if I sound.
There.
What?
Or it's probably the fact that I played TF2, and when was the last time that game had a major update? So yeah, please do try playing this game whether you have friends or not. And please, can I just hit my fucking ult?
Lunatic!